Ben Riggs presents D&D Out Loud, episode 101, a very special episode of D&D Out Loud.
Greetings once again, one and all, to D&D Out Loud with me, apparently controversial D&D historian Ben Riggs. This is a very special episode of D&D Out Loud. That is because I am inviting the man behind the podcast, the mysterious manager of files, Mr. Chris Cotterbaugh, on, because it's our 101st episode. We were like, let's do something a little special, and kind of talk about where the podcast came from, where it's going, how we do it. It'll probably be a shorter episode. But if you've been listening for 100 episodes or 101 episodes or however many you've been listening for, you may have a few questions about how this thing is actually run and how we're making it happen. So hopefully this podcast will enlighten you. So hello, producer Chris. What do you want to be called? Producer Chris, PC, PCK, Mr. Cotterbaugh?
You can just call me Chris. That's fine.
All right. So how long have we known each other?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to say somewhere in the very early 2000s is when I first met you.
So 25-ish years? Looking at
Yeah,
the clock?
somewhere in there. That's pretty crazy.
Good God, we're gonna die.
Yeah, well,
hopefully not today.
No, hopefully not today.
All right. Yeah, and I want to say I met you through Aaron, right?
Yeah. Aaron, it was, so I was living with Landon, and Landon introduced me to Aaron, and at some party or another, there was this guy who was telling stories about Egypt and all kinds of other crazy wild adventures where he was teaching people English as a second language. And the animation that you put into your stories really stuck you in my brain.
That jerk was me. And then you and Aaron started a band, and is that where you picked up your what's what I'm looking for, editing abilities, or did you have it from a prior band?
No, recording has a long history with me, dating back to maybe 97 or 98. I was in a cover band, and we paid some guy to make a demo for us, and he charged us. There was 5 guys in the band. He charged us each $100 back in 98 that was a lot of money for me for the job that I was doing. And the tape that we got, I mean, he didn't finish any of the songs. The quality was okay, but it was a cassette, and I felt really ripped off. So I'm like, I'm never paying anyone else to do this again. I'll figure it out myself. And it just kind of grew from there, wanting to record my own bands and figuring out the technology. And it just kind of grew from there. And let me tell you, some of the setups I've had in the past, recording bands, with guys in different parts of a basement and microphones running to this, to that, into a computer. And it's been quite an experience to get to the point where now I take a file from a phone and I can produce something that goes around the world.
Yeah, and I think it was because I knew you had a studio in your parents' basement that I was like, I'm thinking of starting a podcast. I should get Chris involved. And, then that podcast was Plot Points, where, for over 10 years, I think, read role-playing game adventures and then talked about them in Chris's basement with Brad Davies and Sarah Babe. And that went really well. We got to know each other. We spent a lot of time in your basement.
yeah
And again, I thought Plot Points was very successful, and I really enjoyed doing it. Like, I think that Plot Points got me a gig writing at Geek and Sundry. I think that Geek and Sundry got me my first book, and my first book got me my second book. So like, professionally, it's been a really foundational experience.
Yeah,
But
and
go ahead.
editing for that really really improved my editing skills in a different facet. Recording and editing music, while there's some fundamental similarities, they're trying to edit someone's speech or what they're saying so that it feels like a natural flow. You don't have the synchronization of a beat and rhythm that you can kind of cut into and kind of guess where that's going to sit. Whereas editing voices, I don't do it as much now because this is more conversational. So, but working on Plot Points, there was a lot of times where the readings we'd have 2 or 3 takes on a reading, and editing those together so it didn't sound super choppy, like getting breaths edited in the right spot, really brought my editing skills up, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it was going to. So, because I don't have a history in the topic, so sitting there for an hour listening to people drone on about something I have no real knowledge about, other than a couple of times with you, I wasn't sure how it was going to play out, but it turned out to be very entertaining and very interesting. And now there's times where I hear things and I do the Captain America. I get that reference,
Yeah, because your primary background, like, would you say your primary background is a metalhead, band geek? Like, how would you put it?
I definitely wasn't a band geek. The school, because I couldn't read music, I wasn't allowed in any of the school bands, even though it was a school where I was supposed to learn stuff. So I was like, fine, I'll just go and I'll play bands. I'm gonna play rock and roll anyway. So it's mostly a musician. I've played in bands since I was 14. I'm 51 now. So it's been a bunch of years, and I've played guitar, I played bass, I played drums in different bands over the years. So I grew up out kind of in the country with not a lot of kids around. So playing games like that just wasn't an option for me. I read a lot. My dad got me into reading early, so while I would read the Stephen King and listen to the heavy metal albums, I didn't have the D&D component to get the trifecta of Doom, Midwestern Doom.
The trifecta of Midwestern Doom.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah, and like, I did some editing on Plot Points. Again, you obviously did the vast bulk of it, but I felt like Plot Points taught me to do audio editing. I've done a little bit of video editing. And either, like, if you've now done some video editing, right?
Yep.
Do you find video editing to be significantly easier than audio?
No.
Okay. Then I'm in that, like, then I'm in the happy valley of just starting to get to know something when you're barely competent in the first degree, but you feel like you've come so far. Because I'm like, I feel like audio editing is way harder than video editing, but it just must be my virgin eyes that are the problem.
Well, video editing, there's to me, it's there's creative components in trying to make it. It depends on what I'm editing. If I'm putting together footage from one of my old shows, then it's not a big deal. If I'm editing like an episode here, it's not a lot of work either. It's pretty easy. It's just cutting things together, unless I put some graphics on the screen confirming that I am going to keep this, even though you want me to cut it out. It was I edited a couple of episodes ago where you mispronounced Call of Cthulhu, and you were like, oh, you got to edit that out. I stumbled all over it. But the guests were like, actually, since it's a name that's unpronounceable, there's an argument for, you saying it right anyway. And you were just, oh, Chris is going to keep this now. And I put a graphic on the screen. I don't know if anyone saw it. I did. Yes, I am. I find that stuff fun. I've watched a lot of podcasts too, and there's a couple of different styles of editing where there's heavy graphics and a bunch of camera angles and stuff. that would make it tremendously more difficult. But given that this is more conversational, it's pretty easy. It's just putting the bumpers, getting everything sorted out at the beginning, at the end. That's probably the most work. And if you do it enough, you start making shortcuts. I have this preloaded, so I can just drop it into place. I have my music set up. I know how to put in my overtalks. Once you get into the rhythm of things, it smooths out. So it's a case of doing it. It's a case of practice.
So plot points, again, I thought did very well. I was very happy with plot points. But plot points started in, gosh, I'm going to say 2012. I'd have to go do actual math to figure out when it started. Sorry, I got to plug in my computer really quick. And it was a simpler, younger time. Nobody knew how role-playing games were going to take off in the next 10 years in 2012, and a thing that we kind of had a core of plot points was we're going to look at these texts like literature. And after 10 years, I was like, that's wrong. the fundamental core idea is mistaken of this venture. And again, the idea of taking a deep look and looking at it seriously and really, really putting some thought into it. Actually reading the text and having an opinion, that was valuable. But after 10 years, it became clear that these are scripts, and yeah, you can read like a play and have an opinion about it, but it's much better to actually perform it or see it performed, because that's what's supposed to happen. And it's interesting how in like the world of YouTube RPG media, did you actually play it has become a like yardstick for whether or not I'm going to take your comments seriously. And it's valid. Like, if you haven't actually played it, what do you really know about the thing? You've like looked at the car and smelled it, but you haven't actually driven it. It's supposed to drive. And that it was that realization that I was like, okay, maybe it's time to shift. Plot Points has been very successful. Sarah Babe is on TV now, which is, and not to say in some way that, I guess Plot Points was on her resume, but that's not taking credit or claim for her success in any way. Her success is her own. And we love her for having it. But it wasn't, it felt like it was just time to move on to something else. So I want to say I had like 3 or 4 months of doing nothing. And then Dr. Scott was like, hey, let's just go back to reading D&D texts aloud and commenting on them. And I'm like, that's interesting. Like get a guest on. That was kind of the first version of this podcast was, okay, we're going to have a text. We're going to have a guest. It's going to be me, Dr. Bruner, with you on the as the behind the scenes wizard, and off we went. And again, I thought that was going pretty well too, frankly. But after a few months,
you still have people that are fans of that. There are people that really on the Discord channel. There's people that really are still interested in you guys reading that stuff. So the premise there is proven.
Yeah, and really, it's Dr. Scott just did not have the time to commit to that. So when he was like, yeah, I can't do it, then we took a month off, I think, to kind of rejigger. And for a while I tried to do the same thing but with guests and without Scott. And I'd say sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So and then I would say I kind of tried to set up hot dates conversationally. Like, like these people, like I like this guy's work, I like that person's work. Maybe I can get them both on, and there's something similar in their work, and they'll have a good conversation. and sometimes that would work and sometimes it wouldn't work. And then probably, I think it was like 2 years ago, somebody, I forget who it was. I contacted someone and I was like, hey, do you want to talk to person A? And they were like, no, but how about person B? And I'm like, okay, I'll try and get person B. And I got person B. And these two had an amazing conversation. And I was like, oh, that's what I should do. I should contact people and be like, do you want to come on and who do you want to talk to? And then I try and go get the person that they want to talk to. And I think that has proven much more successful because the first person I ask already has an interest in knowledge of the second person. Therefore, when I get them on, they have lots to talk about immediately because that first person is like, let me ask you about this, let me ask you about that. And for a long time, RPG fans, I feel like it's a good conversation if I leave and feel like I just went to a good seminar at Gen Con. Like if you've never been to a Gen Con seminar, 95% of them are, let's put a tabletop role-playing game creator on the stage with other role-playing game creators and then just kind of shoot the crap. Like, they typically are not super structured. Maybe if it's a like, what's upcoming for this, what's up for Paizo next year, they'll have a PowerPoint where they're like, this is what we're going to do. But like, you never go to one of these seminars. And I feel like I might be the only person who sits down and like writes speeches to deliver Gen Con seminars. I know that, I'm sure that's not true. Other people I'm sure do, but the vast majority don't. The vast majority are just like, I'm a brilliant game designer. I'm going to be in the room with you for an hour and you're going to hear a conversation. And when I was like, okay, let's try and recreate that digitally, I feel like that also gave me a kind of guiding star, a guide point. I do remember before one seminar, one time someone came up to me on the stage and he's like, hey, who else is going to be on this? I'm like, no one, it's just me. And he's like, it's just you? I'm like, yeah, just me. I'll talk for an hour, And he's like, okay. Because I'm guessing every other seminar he'd gone to, it was like, 3 to 5 people on stage, having an improvised conversation, maybe with some talking points. I would say that over the course of doing this, man, I might have the best Rolodex in gaming. Maybe like there must be a few heads of companies that know more people than me. Or maybe some of the other historians know more people than me, but like after 2 years of this, man, it seems like if they're like, again, not everyone, because how can you know everyone? But I certainly feel like I'm very connected, and if I wandered into a bar at a gaming convention at 2 a.m., there's probably someone I know there. Which is handy for this concept because it means that, like, when someone is like, I want to talk to third edition creator Jonathan Tweet, I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll go email Jonathan Tweet and see what we can do. It is interesting to me, though. I feel like I talk way less on the podcast than most podcast creators.
Yeah, you do.
And again, I feel like that's intentional. But when I do talk, if there was an episode that was all me, it would probably be something that I wrote and put a bunch of thought into. Like I kind of want to speak with some authority and reliability when I talk. I don't want to just like fire out my butt. But again, I should say, so after I record, I send you because I've stopped using Zoom because Zoom stopped working on my computer. I send you a video file. And what do you do with that video file then, Chris?
Well, I download it, and that there for a while that proved to be pretty difficult. And I don't know, it was probably my computer wasn't strong enough to do it. There for a while, I didn't have a decent editing computer, it takes a lot of power to do video editing. It's a lot of, while I've used this stuff a lot, I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm that guy. I don't know how it works, but it works. So it took a while to get some of that stuff downloaded. Anyway, I download the file, I import it into Filmora, which is a video editing software, which I have a subscription to. And then depending on any notes you may have given me, I put the front end bumpers, like the title card and any sort of title imagery that you give me. I lay in the intro music, and then I record a voiceover intro stating the episode and the name of the episode number, because not everybody's watching. Some people are just listening to the audio. And it occurred to me almost a year into it that everybody who's listening, they're not seeing any of the intro stuff, so they don't know the title of it. They don't know who the guest is. They just hear bumper music for 15, 20 seconds, and then there's an episode going. So I thought I'd put in like an intro there. Then I go through and address any issues you might have brought up, or I choose not to do those edits because it makes for a more entertaining listen.
Yeah, there was the mispronouncing of Cthulhu that I had people coming up to me being like, was that supposed to be left in? You said take it out, but it wasn't taken out.
Oh. Yeah, I left that in there because the banter between you and the guests about it was entertaining, and it's my opinion that stuff makes things a little more interesting, a little more human, instead of just listening to people drone on. It
certainly perked everyone up.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes that's helpful. Like I said, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and when I can get some kind of realness or something like that, it wakes everybody up. It's not unlike throwing things into a training seminar to break people out of their spell. Anyway, I get those edits done. I put on the end. I type in a thank you to whoever the guest is. It's going to be surreal putting my own name in that bracket today. And then I render it down to a single file, and I send it to you as a video file and an audio file.
And then I go and I post them. Sometimes I'll post about posting it on social media. Often I don't, because I feel like I don't know. We're so Gen X about this. Like, we're like, oh yeah. You're supposed to post on social media about your podcast every week to grow your listenership, blah, blah, blah. I do feel like there's a few things where we're like, we're probably leaving some money on the table. And we're probably not growing as fast as we could under other circumstances. But I don't know. Like, I assume that this is one of the reasons that people listen to us. The fact that I'm like, like I do Patreon pushes when I'm like, we have something really new and exciting going on, then I can bug people about it. But like, I still haven't posted that Errol Otis thing from GaryCon because there's just, again, you're talking about the difficulty of moving files around. It's like there's 2 massive video files and 2 microphone audio files that I just need to get off there. And like, I just feel like I haven't had 2 hours to do that since March. And again, I will, on a personal note, add, like, this is probably the worst year of my life. Like, my dad died, Rob Whelan died, a college friend died, and a former student killed his parents. It's been a year. So
like the premise of a game itself. Holy cow.
Yeah. So I was in my first on highway collision with a what was described to me as a long truck 2 weeks ago. I'm fine, my kid's fine, and my car is drivable again. But it just feels like it's been a wild year, and I have a book to write that's due in November. So of course, like the book couldn't, like, I've been pitching this book for years, and it didn't get purchased last year. It got purchased this year when all of this is going on. But this is life, right? And again, the podcast in many ways is the easiest thing to be like, I'm just not going to post on social media about it. Like I feel like if we're getting stuff out, I wish we got more patron only episodes out. But like if we're getting something up every week and we're getting patron only episodes up, I feel pretty satisfied. And again, I still wish I got more patron only stuff up. But there's only so many hours in the day. Someone yesterday described being an artist as lighting yourself on fire so that other people can see. And it is I've definitely felt that this year, as like podcast plus writing is essentially a time tax. Like I heard friends discussing movies yesterday, and I was like, I haven't seen a movie in the theaters since July, and I don't know any of these movies that I had no idea that any of these movies existed, but I was fascinated. I was very glad to hear about them. But all of that plus 5-year-old plus full-time job, because again, this is not my gig. My gig is teaching 7th and 8th grade. I hope this doesn't seem whiny or complaining, but like one of the purposes of this episode is just to bring you guys behind the curtain. Like I would love to do the response to that new Constitution episode was such that I was like, I would love to explore this further, but I don't feel like I have the time. Like, if I had another 10 hours a week that I could devote to something, maybe it would be this, because it seems really interesting to me. People seemed interested. The feedback was good. The criticism was very constructive. Essentially the criticism was how we, tighten this up, focus up, have make it more of a thesis podcast where you have an idea every week than a conversation podcast. And I'm like, oh, it makes total sense. Really good feedback. But like, I just don't feel like I have the 10 hours it would take to do that a week. And again, it would double your editing work if we started getting that up every week, even once a month. I'm like, I guess once a month, it wouldn't be a terrible ask for you. Yeah. But so, okay. Well, hopefully that doesn't seem too whiny and navel gazy, but I wanted to let you guys in on that. Since, if you're a loyal listener, maybe you're interested in this kind of thing. Going forward, it's funny. On the one hand, I feel like, oh my God, who do I talk to? On the other hand, I'm like, well, Howard Stern doesn't actually have someone new on every week. Like, right. With the Rolodex now, I can go and I can start mixing and matching. I have a really exciting combination that I'm working on right now. I had everybody on board, and now one person I just haven't heard from in a few days. I would love to plug it because I was hoping to drop it next week. And I was really excited about the conversation. So hopefully everything is okay and this person is okay. But I don't want to drop any names because I was excited, and I think it would excite the audience. But I don't want to tease something that, I don't know, either won't happen next week or might not happen at all. We'll see. But yeah, like if there's someone you want to talk to, please email me at rigsbl@gmail.com. That's the quickest way to get a hold of me. The only people who have not appeared that people have been interested in are Jeremy Crawford, Chris Perkins, and Robin Laws. And Jeremy and Chris are just pretty busy, and Robin Laws was expensive. Like I like to compensate people who are not actively promoting things, which is why I oftentimes have people on who are actively promoting things, because I'm like, you come on, I'll pay someone else to be on. And it's just I'm trying to run this like a business. It cheapens the bottom line to have someone willing to talk for free who's promoting something. But those are the only names that, again, like that I'm not complaining. This is just an observation of like, those are people I've wanted to have had on and it just hasn't happened yet. You should probably try with Jeremy and Chris more. Like the next time the next time they have a product out, I'll make a push for them. If you don't know, they're at Darrington Press now. They were the two of the core 5th edition guys. And Robin Laws is a Canadian genius who has made more amazing games than I have fingers. So I'd love to have him on as well. But, again, he understandably is like, it's going to be more money than that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I don't have that money yet. So when the podcast starts making more money, I'll go and try and throw more money at Robin Laws and get him on here. So yeah, hopefully we just keep going with this, and hopefully people enjoy the conversations and get something out of them. I mean, I do. Like, again, I tend to record and then feel better afterwards, which is one of the reasons I kept going with it, even as time has become a premium, because it feels like it adds to my emotional bank and score. What about you, Chris? You feel like you're ready to punch out? You done with this?
No. I enjoy doing it. It's a creative outlet I have right now. A lot of my other things are on hold. My life is pretty busy too, full-time work and taking care of stuff in my home life. So my regular outlets, they're difficult. This is something that I can do. I feel somewhat creative getting it together. Plus there's a sense of accomplishment. There's a tangible evidence that I did something. Here's an episode. You can go out to people. It's something I helped create. And that, even though it's not a lot, it's one thing a week. It's more than nothing. And you'd be surprised how much that'll boost your experience or your life if you can get some sort of creative outlet incorporated in your busy life. And it's something I promote to everybody. Everybody I know is probably tired of hearing it, but I am like, just try to do something. Try to read, write, draw, go out and plant something if you have the ability to plant. Try to do something creative, because it really kind of adds to your warehouse of support. How do I say this? I've talked about it a lot, but I never had to explain it.
Well, take your time. It's hard to heave your heart into your mouth.
I'm the editor. I could take as much time and make it seem flawless, But no, with as hectic as everybody's life is nowadays, we sometimes forget that in addition to sleep, and food and breathing, we often need a way to just take our minds off the hook. And a great way to do that is to be creative in some sort of venture. And it'll help you with your job if you can detach from the phone, detach from the work that you're doing. I have a satisfying job in that I have physical proof of work being done almost every day. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic, so I take something that isn't working and I make it work. And I got proof. I've got success. Proof of success. And that's sometimes lacking in jobs that are more computer-based or office-based. You don't have as much proof that you did anything, so you don't feel as accomplished. But if you can go and after 10 or 12 hours clacking away on an Excel file, if you can go and draw something or put together a model or play a game or read a book, it really recharges. I feel it really recharges you and helps keep you safe and happy.
Well then, I'm gonna plug the Patreon unless there's something else you want to talk about.
Not really.
I don't plug it enough, but like I've been pretty good about getting episodes with Dr. Scott Bruner and I up reading the Dungeon Master's Guide aloud. It is a mere $3 a month, and there's a ton of great stuff back on there. There's a conversation with Ken Haidt and Sandy Peterson about Call of Cthulhu. There's a conversation with Peter Adkison, owner of Gen Con, and Matt Shoemaker, historian of Gen Con. And that's all for $3 a month. And I promise that Errol Otis, Jeff Easley conversation is going to be coming. Again, once I finally get it to Chris, it's probably going to take you a couple weeks to edit it because again, it's so much more material than usual. Again, if you don't know, if you've listened this far and you don't own Slaying the Dragon: A Secret History of Dungeons and Dragons, well, you must have liked this conversation. Go buy the book. It's even better. You can get it everywhere fine books are sold. All right, then, Chris, I'm just going to say this was great, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, bud.